Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation. Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I am your host, Justin D. Morgan, and I don't mean to bait and switch you, but UPS did not deliver the parts today, so topic switch. I figured I'd go ahead and let you know up front, but we are looking at Macintosh after a certain segment that you all won't let me get by without doing. So let's see here who we have in the chat. We have Thomas Armstrong. Hi, Thomas. Thomas says, nice case. Ah, yeah, probably the Mac Plus bag that I have, yes. We have Kevin. Hi, Kevin. We have SadMac356. Hi, SadMac. And we got 1-Bit Fever Dreams. Hi, Michael. All right, so the coffee goal, I updated it. Carries over to this month. The tip jar helps me buy the things that make this stream go. And we'll, make sure I have coffee and supplies and possibly a few regrets. So check that out. Links in the description. And without further ado, let's go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan.
Hey, who comes up with these titles anyway?
So, we have a couple boxes to the right here, and there's a reason why I left this motherboard on the bench. It is not because we are going to turn a PC into a Mac. It is because we'll give the items in the box a potential regret score, but I need the motherboard to gauge the potential regret score. So let me get the large video card out of the way. It is not needed to regret score these items. Let's see here. Find a place to set it to. Hopefully it won't fall over. All right. At least. There we go. All right. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this motherboard to the side momentarily. So we can take a look at this first potential regret here from an eBay seller in Maryland. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Maryland. If anyone's wondering, it's like 80 degrees in the basement. I did get the portable air conditioner adapter that I ordered from Amazon, but I haven't set it up yet because it's not quite what I was expecting. In fact, I think they might have changed the description after I bought it, which is really weird. Or I misread the description or something. The description of it said it was slightly insulated, but apparently a spray of silver paint on plastic is what folks are considering insulated these days. Or at least the Chinese manufacturers are considering that. So, anyways, so this first potential regret, you're probably wondering, well, Justin, how can a Noctua cooler be a potential regret? Well, if it's too big. So we have a, I don't think it's new in box, but it should be complete, NH-D14 cooler from Noctua. It should have all the, I believe it has all the mounting parts and the fans and everything. So I'm going to quickly double check that it seems like everything is here. I think this is going to be the cooler itself. Thomas Armstrong said, "We have a 59 Celsius day today. AC is on vacation." That seems dreadfully hot. It got up to like 100 and at least 100 here, Fahrenheit. Oh, Thomas says 59 Fahrenheit day today. Okay. That sounds downright pleasant compared to today. So, all right, we have, yes, we do. We have the Noctua D14. We have both fans. It looks slightly used. There's some thermal paste on that one fan. There's some fingerprints on the top. The heat plate is slightly marred, like it was mounted to something maybe, but nothing that the thermal paste won't take care of. The marks are on the edge of it anyway, so the middle's the part that counts. So that part of it looks good. All right. All right. So that looks good. All right, we're going to put this back in the box because you'll see why I'm putting this one back in the box. All right. All right, and then let's check mounting hardware. All right, we've got, NT H1 thermal paste. We've got, this must be older because the power adapters aren't sleeved. But we have a cool Noctua badge. Might be the first time I've bought a Noctua product that had the badge in it. Ooh, very nice. We have an actual tool for installing the heatsink. And should have the instructions. Let's see, I think that's the manual. And there's the AMD installation set and the Intel installation set. So, very good. It does look like we have all the install parts. So, yep, more moving air. Socket Wrench says, that's a chunk applied directly to forehead. Yeah. That would possibly make my forehead feel cooler. All right, so very good. Looks like the eBay seller included everything they pictured. It does look like it is a NH4 that is complete. Okay, I may need to double check. The installation instructions do not mention AM4, so I may have to double check with Noctua that there wasn't a alternate mounting bracket for AM4. And if there was, there's actually a chance if I ask nice enough, they might send it to me. Anyways, we'll see. But anyways, so there we go. We got one heatsink. All right, yep. Slightly older box. I just did realize this box does not mention AM3, but I do know this cooler works with AM4. So I may have to potentially wait for another. It would be the metal pieces that go onto the backplate on the AMD motherboard that would potentially be the ones that might be different for AM4. But I'll double check their website. Their website's really good about telling you if you may need a conversion kit or not. So, all right, there we go. That is one of the coolers. And now, of course, the next item came today by FedEx, who did a really wonderful job delivering both items that they delivered today. This item comes to us from Georgia. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Georgia. The shipping box for this item is just dirty. The other item that looks like they drop kicked off the truck, and the item inside has some minor damage, which I'm probably just going to suck it up and live with it because it's a desk chair and I need the desk chair. I really don't feel like waiting any longer for a desk chair. The base of the desk chair has a little dent in it. As long as the casters go on, then I'm just going to live with it and be annoyed at FedEx. So we have another, another of the same kind of heatsink. Because why buy one when you can buy two at almost twice the price? Now, this heatsink is a little less complete, as you might be able to tell by the fact that it only has a backplate on it, but it luckily has the LGA 1150X backplate, which I believe is correct for LGA 1151. Thomas Armstrong says, quality care of FedEx. Yes. So I believe that if I take the basically, I'm going to take the backplate off the heatsink, which the eBay seller apparently put this thing together to keep all the parts together. And we are going to hold, probably after removing the heatsink on the Intel board that I have sitting beside me, which is why I left it handy. We're going to see if this heatsink actually fits on the board. Thomas says, I had FedEx delivery and I can see the tire marks on the package from forklift tires. Oof. Yeah, that sounds like FedEx to me. Or really, it's probably more FedEx Ground than FedEx Express seems to do a better job than FedEx Ground. And FedEx Home Delivery, well, FedEx Ground does a better job than FedEx Home Delivery. Like, oh, this is going to home. We don't need to deliver that with care. All right, so there we go. The heat plate looks good on this one. There we go. We got our 6 heat pipes, dual towers, both fans. Fans look fairly clean. Both fans have power connectors. Yes, they do. Excellent. Oh, I guess I could zoom out. So, all right, to see if this fits, I think I first need to unclip the middle fan. There we go. And now that gets us access to the middle. I'm going to take the screwdriver that came with the other heatsink to unscrew the metal brackets, because I am going to mount this to the other board to see if it fits. And it also confirms that I have all the mounting hardware. All right, so there we go. There's our 2 brackets. So there we go. We got our tower. So I went with I wanted to go with the Noctua coolers for a couple reasons. One, because they're quiet, and 2, they're lighter than some of the other ones, but they give the same cooling performance. Because I've realized some of the coolers that go on CPU sockets these days is like 3/4 of a kilogram of weight bouncing around on the back plate. It's like, that seems excessive. So I decided to go with the Noctua cooler because I think it's just quite not quite as heavy. All right, so now we will remove this heatsink, which definitely has a different mounting bracket arrangement, because this heatsink, the brackets go long ways. All right, and also, I'm just going to mount this basically enough to know that it's going to fit. I'm not going to completely mount it, because honestly, I got to put this motherboard in a case. The case that I got for it has not arrived yet. But if this heatsink's not going to fit, then, well, I would like to either... I may just resell it, because I only need one of them. Because actually, I think I figured out that for the processor that's in this board, the one that was on this heatsink here that's on it, is more than enough. But I would kind of like to But if the bigger heatsink fits, I'm going to use the bigger heatsink, because then that just means all the more excess thermal headroom there is, and the processor cooler, the CPU cooler should stay quiet. There we go. If anyone's wondering, my thermal adhesive, or my thermal compound application was... it looks like it did get a complete spread. More or less. I'll take a little more care on the final installation. Alright, so I do need to remove these brackets here. I guess the other cool thing about these bigger coolers is they sometimes also kind of get some air moving across your RAM. Although I'm not sure the Noctua one does that. Well, actually, I guess its middle fan might actually get some airflow started in the right place. Alright. So I'm trying to take this apart so that I don't get parts mixed up. Alright, so because this goes that way. In fact, I'm actually kind of almost wondering if the back plate itself is actually the same on these two coolers. Oh, yeah, actually it is the same back plate. So how about we will we'll just for simplicity's sake, we'll leave that back plate on. No, I'm not going to pi heatsink the DRAMs. That would make it more difficult to upgrade the RAM later. All right. Okay. So here's that. They might make clip-on heat sinks for RAM, but I was kind of half joking. It's not like this RAM is... Is that right? I guess that is right. All right. There we go. So these go that way. I'm fairly sure. Yeah, that's right. So I'm not going to power this up. And in fact, I'll leave myself well, I don't need to leave myself a note that I don't have the thermal compound on completely. I'm not going to I'm only going to set the heatsink in place. I've just, as I said, I wanted to do this enough to see if this was going to fit or not. And if it does or doesn't, I'll deal with everything else later. I'll set this to the side. Yeah, the only reason I bought the second one that only had the LGA 1151 hardware, or I think it also probably works with the 1155, because I think they use the same size backplate. I think the mounting holes are the same size, or at least close enough that I think it all fits. So the deal with these heatsinks is, of course, they're big, but is it too big to fit? All right, so that's... Oh, well... Yeah, I think it fits. There's like, yeah, I guess let me actually tighten this down so I can see how much clearance I have. But yeah, the heatsink, the fan on this one heatsink, it looks like it is... I don't know if I can get the screw to start. I'll very carefully rotate this, but yeah. I guess the main thing is, will it fit the case? But here we go. So for clearance, I will very carefully support this. If anyone's wondering, it just clears these dims. So I'll have to, I can move this fan up a notch so that I can get the power lead managed. But yeah. And then I was kind of worried about the Aorus shield here, but it's got about a finger width of clearance there. And I was fairly sure, now you see why I left this video card within handy reach. I was less concerned about this clearance. So the only thing I won't be able to do is, it does look like that PCI Express slot there, that might be a tight fit. But I think that's fine. That still gives me the slot for the other two capture cards I need to install. And the PCI Express network card. Although, you know, I think it might actually still be... I don't have a card handy to plug in there. But actually, there may still be enough clearance. But yeah, all right. The NHD14 is a go. I guess the only part that's going to be kind of annoying now is the heatsink. The video card clip is kind of hard to get to. But not impossible. All right, very good. So it looks like I did good in selecting a heatsink. There's plenty of cooling capability here, so hopefully this will mean that both my video editing computer, which I'm not worried about its... I wasn't really... well, actually, I am a bit worried about its fit. The RAM is taller on it. But this fan does have some... you can unclip it. And... you can unclip it and say, for example, let's put the fan maybe more in line with the tops of the heat pipes. And there we go. That might actually... that's probably what I'll have to do on the other board with the taller RAM. But, oh yeah, I think that would totally give enough clearance for that Vengeance RAM I have in the other board. Because it's got RGB on top of it. So, very good. I think this cooler will be a winning combination for the streaming computer to give me lots of cooling, but without lots of noise. All right. Well, this fan, I'll have to figure out what the secret is to reinserting it. It's... that is weird. Well, I know that fan goes there, but by golly, it seems like the towers are closer together. I don't know. Weird. Well, whatever. I'm not trying to fully put it back together. I just wanted to at least put the parts for this together so that I, when I do get the case, I can build it. So anyways, what I'm going to do is set this board down inside of this box here after I ditch the bubble wrap that's in it. There we go. That'll give me something. Yeah, that'll give me something to keep all that together. Let me put these heatsink parts with this other heatsink. And... oh, yeah. And then this envelope of parts here, that's a really... it's like a black chrome backplate, I noticed. After the stream ended and I pulled it out, I realized, wow, that Actually looks like a black chrome. Or like a dark gray chrome. It's got a really neat finish on it. It's also got this. It also came with this, and I have no idea what this goes to. I'm kind of wondering if it was something that the previous owner made for their case. Maybe it was to hold their video card up or something. I have no idea what it is. It doesn't look like it's original to the motherboard. And those two screws don't seem to line up with any holes on the board. And the fact it says R5 Aorus Z370, that's technically not the name of this motherboard, so I don't think Gigabyte did that. Hey, Jesse. Jesse says, today is only Thursday. I know this now only because of Justin. Well, I wish I could be the harbinger of Friday, but wrong word. I think harbinger is a negative word. I wish I could be the bearer of Friday, but no. I do stream on Thursdays for various reasons. All right, so we got the two heat sinks. They appear to be what they say they are. Let's get this PC motherboard off the bench. Jesse says I have off tomorrow, so it's all good. Yep. I'm with you there. All right, so let me get this PC motherboard off the bench. Let me get this other heatsink off the bench. We'll get this PC power supply off the bench. And then we'll get an LC motherboard on the bench because I didn't get the parts, Mac Plus parts. Because UPS decided yesterday morning, while my package was still in Nashville, that delivery was going to be delayed by 1 business day. So, by my math, that's Monday. Because I think tomorrow is a UPS holiday, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So there's our victim for tonight. If I can find the recap kit. So give me a moment. Oh, you know, I could put you on hold while I look for the recap kit. Let me do that. I may have to go up and get a bottle of water sooner rather than later. But we have a, actually I may take a moment to go grab it. It's getting warmer downstairs in this area now that I've been streaming for 50 minutes. So I have this LC2 motherboard that needs to be recapped. I also somewhere have a 68-pin socket I was going to install on it. I am trying to remember where I put the sockets. I put them somewhere creative so that I would not lose them. Spoiler alert, I have lost them. So, hopefully with a recap and maybe reflowing some of the crusty pins, this board might work. At least the good thing is, looks like the egret is fairly clean. Some of the audio amp chips, their legs look a bit worse for wear. I think the CPU is largely unscathed. I also, if we get through that, but I don't think we will tonight, I also have an LC board that also needs to be recapped. And I did find both of their cap kits. So, just trying to, oh, hi, CDI, welcome. So, I did, that's the LC cap kit. There we go. There's the LC2 cap kit. I'm trying to remember where I put those sockets. Yeah. Actually, let me pull up my mouse. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. Let me bring up my Mouser account. I will see when I ordered them. Because it just dawned on me, the answer might be, the reason why I don't know where they are is I never ordered them. No, I do not believe, or they're not in the order I'm waiting in. That I do know. Alright, let's see here. Orders. Order history. If I know what I ordered with them, then I might remember where I put them. Alright, let's see. Part history search. Let's search for 68. That should narrow it down. Oh, last 12 months. Date all. Alright, let's see here. Let's sort by, oh, they are sorted by order date. Alright, let's see here. So I ordered 3 68-pin PLCC sockets back in April of last year. And the other parts in the order were an AT Tiny 45, 74LS02, AT-Tiny 85. The sockets, more sockets. Ooh, I ordered 2 different types of 68-pin sockets. Interesting. Oh, some of them are SMT sockets. And a tiny AVR programmer. And tantalum capacitors for an IBM PC or XT 74 ALS 245, which would have been for a 2 psi. This actually gives me a hint of where the order might be. Could the order be in the Mouser box that has the top torn off, and I have a Sega Genesis on top of it? That might actually be where the order is. Well, I have some potential good news. Despite rumors to the contrary, I just found the oscillator sockets I've been looking for. Spoiler alert, that box is not where the Mouser order I'm looking for was. But it was where the oscillator sockets that I'm waiting for Mouser, where the ones I thought I'd ordered actually ended up being. So guess what we get to do? I'm going to go get the Mac Plus upgrade and another upgrade, and we're going to install oscillator sockets on both of them. I'm also, while I'm up, going to go upstairs and get that bottle of water I left up there, so I'll be right back. Now that I have the bottle of water I left upstairs, it is quite wet and refreshing. Let's see what we have here. So, the two upgrade cards that I have that I wanted to put oscillator sockets on so that we could do some experimenting are the Mac Effects Accelerator card for the SE. Hi, Jason, welcome. Yeah, Jason of Gut Bomb Industries here. So I noticed that Mac Effects has already installed an oscillator onto this card. So we are going to remove it carefully, put a socket in its place so we can try different oscillators. But the really cool thing is, it looks like they put a 33 megahertz oscillator for the math coprocessor. So that's actually possibly a really good thing. That is promising for our experimentation. And then the other one that I want to put a socket on is the MiniPerformer Plus JCM Edition. So we will have to install the socket and a jumper headers, a set of jumper headers, which I should have some jumper pins around here somewhere. So this accelerator card, all we should have to do is remove the oscillator and the jumper pad you solder for using the bus clock for the FPU is under the oscillator. But Socket Wrench says, hi, Socket Wrench. Universe, I actually have the name reaction now to Socket. Why do I do this to myself? So the one thing is, I believe this accelerator card is going to be running at I think the processor is going to be running at the same frequency as the Mac Plus. Although I can't read the oscillator on the Mac SE. But for some reason, I want to say the Mac SE processor speed is the same as the Mac Plus, because I want to say it's derived by the video, and I think the video runs at the same speed on both. So I'm fairly sure this runs at 7.8 megahertz on the SE, just like it does on the Plus. Because this is going to be like a 15 point, like a 15.7 blah blah blah. I'll look at the schematics if it becomes relevant. Anyways. The thing is, Joe's website, and Gutbomb says he got one of these MiniPerformer Plus units. Cool. So Joe says on his website, on the product page for this, that the 25 megahertz oscillator has been tested. So that one, that would be one I would have been sure would have worked. And yeah, I do know we'll have to cut a pin here when we install that jumper header, because it's got a 2 pins connected, which we'll replace with a jumper. So I know that 25 megahertz works. I also tried looking in the data sheet for the 68882 to see if it had any data on what the maximum, I guess, speed mismatch was, for lack of a better term. Like, if there was a maximum CPU bus speed or a minimum CPU bus speed for a set FPU bus speed. So, that I could not find that in the datasheet, possibly because it might have been disguised as a table of, like, minimum and maximum timings. That wasn't totally evident what it was talking about. So the thing is, the order I placed with Mauser had a number of different oscillator values in it. I think I got like 116. I think I got a 16, a 20, and like 232s and 240s. Because I knew, because I have 25s here. So if 25 worked, and that was the max I could get out of it, I'd have enough to put 25s in both upgrades, if that was like the max. I was kind of thinking 32 hopefully would also work. And now I have some evidence that says that, yeah, that is a compatible FPU speed for 16 megahertz 68030. Because that's a 32 megahertz. And actually, for these chips, the oscillator speed is the bus speed. So that 68882 will be running at 32 megahertz. I know some processors use a clock doubled oscillator. Some processors use same clock. And there are some weird processors that use like a clock halved oscillator. Like the processor doubles it internally. I know a lot of Intel processors like to have a 2x oscillator and they have it internally. But I think the Motorola's usually use a 1x oscillator. Although that's not to say that whatever you've got the processor in might not be deriving the processor clock from something else, but the clock being fed into the Motorola processor is 1x, as far as I can tell. At least for 68,000 and 020 and 030. I think for PowerPC it might be... I was wanting to say for PowerPC it's like half speed. So for like 60 megahertz PowerPC, you give it a 30 megahertz oscillator. Someone in the chat, I'm sure, could confirm. Because I was thinking at least early PowerPC, I was thinking it was kind of weird. But anyways, so now I've got some evidence that 16 megahertz processor and 32 megahertz FPU might be a compatible speed. So that's good. But I do have my math coprocessors from China that I was going to put in the JCM MiniPerformer. With the kind of suspicious Motorola logo, but whatever. They are allegedly clocked at 40 megahertz. Oh, I thought I got Freescale ones, but I guess I got Motorola ones. It's amazing what you can get from China. But anyways, so basically, what I was going to do when I got the oscillators for Mauser and the sockets, but I found sockets, so we don't need to wait for that, is I was going to try to see what speeds seem to work and put the fastest one in. So I had all the maths I could. A little nod to the British folks watching. So we will probably try that experimentation with this accelerator, because I have my I do have my Mac Pico vid, which will make testing the combinations a bit easier. And then when we find one that appears to work, we will we'll load up another oscillator of the same value in the Mac Plus MiniPerformer, and we will send it. Because I have a feeling if the combination works in this accelerator, then it will probably work in this accelerator, because both processors, I think, are actually running at the same clock speed. So hopefully that makes sense. Now that I have revealed the grand plans, and unfortunately we will probably have to wait till Monday's stream to try... well, we will have to wait till Monday's stream, hopefully. I'm hoping I'll get the UPS order Monday. No, if anyone's wondering that joined late, no, UPS didn't declare the delivery exception today. They declared it yesterday while the package was still in Nashville, so... so it... yeah, last time I checked, the package was still in Roanoke. So... anyways, we will... let's get to putting some sockets in both of these upgrades. And then we'll we'll check. Well, we'll check that I haven't done any damage to this one, and we'll at least start to get some baseline numbers of 25 and 33. But we will also put the socket in the MiniPerformer. So let me get the SE out of the way. Let me find my scalpel. Let me go ahead and... all right. I think that should have broken the connection between those two pins. Let's check with the multimeter. I think I watched Des Fix too much. I have my multimeter in continuity mode. And we have, yep, I have broken the trace. So there we go. When I install the pin headers, we will be able to install a jumper between either sets of pins now, and it will work properly. Oh, wait a minute. I just realized I have the, Oh! We might be able to test the Mac Plus board. I just realized I have the adapter. I forgot that I had the adapter. Well, if I've got a Mac Plus board out, well, we'll see how far we get with the initial testing, because I think I'll have to pull the Mac Plus apart. All right, let me see if I can find some jumper pins on my bench. I think I usually have a few floating around. Well, all right. Okay, let's do this. Because I'm probably going to have to go looking for header pins. Let me go ahead and desolder the oscillator on this, so I could, because it's the only thing I need to desolder, and I've got Claris warmed up. I have to add some fresh solder. All right, that. This one pin here is still soldered. Still soldered. All right, well, let's try. Okay, I will note it's been a while since I've ordered this from MacFX. I don't know that their current products that they currently say they put this oscillator on it. Hello, Salvage Geek. Welcome. All right. That is just weird. Okay. Still seems to be. All right, I'm gonna bump the temperature up in case this is like lead-free solder or something that MacFX used. But it's possible it is because of where they ship in the world. All right. I guess. All right. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to. All right, call in the big guns. I didn't really want to do this, but I'm going to try it. Some low melt solder. Oh, there we go. Nice. The oscillator fell out. All right. It just can be messy to clean up. That's why I was trying to avoid it. It's also rather expensive. And I'll have to find my... oh, there it is. All right. But nothing that can't be... Actually, I don't think I did a too horribly of a messy job here. Oh, I still have solder in one of the vias. All right. All right, so we'll clean up this oscillator here. All right, so should be able to reuse that, and hopefully, yep. All right. And there we go. That is nice and clean. Let's get our sockets installed. If I can find where I put them. There's that. These are FCO processors. Oh, there they are. They're right in front of me. So, all right, we are going to install one of these sockets on the Performer, or the, actually, I guess it is the Performer. So, nice turned pin oscillator sockets. Joe says, finally something vintage again on the channel. Welcome, Joe. And Gupom says, I've never tried low melt solder for removing stuff. Well, the one warning is it can be a mess to clean up. And I guess it probably goes without saying that it does change the melting temperature of the solder. So for vintage stuff, I'd say that, yeah, if as long as you like wick it all up, you're probably fine. None of that would run hot enough in normal use where I would think that you were going to accidentally melt solder if you didn't get it all up in the normal course of using the device. But I would say if you use it on something modern, yeah, you might really want to make sure you clean it up. I am going to apply some flux. Because for some reason, it just doesn't really want to flow. All right. Go. That looks good. Yeah. All right. There we go. That looks good. Now, while the board is still warm, assuming I can find where I put my Q-tips, while the board is still warm, not in that pile. No, not there. Oh, there they are. Way off in left field. Yeah, Socket Wrench says, I didn't even know they made sockets for the 4-pin oscillators. Yeah. All right, there we go. Yeah, usually for an oscillator, you want to use turned pins because the oscillator pins will fit better in a turned pin socket. But yeah, they actually make sockets that just have the 4 corner pins. And I believe someone might even make a 6-pin socket that has pins where both sizes of oscillator can would have their pins. Or at least someone's probably made them in the past. I don't know if they are common now, but there's also nothing that says you couldn't take a turned pin socket and pull the extra pins out. But given how much turned pin sockets cost, because the turned pins cost more than the stamped pins and other sockets, I think it's you're still coming out ahead by actually buying the sockets that have only 4 pins installed if you were only using an oscillator. But there is nothing that says you couldn't take a 14-pin socket and push 10 of the pins out. But there we go. I guess maybe I did get a little flux on the top side of that. Oops. Anyways, a little out of focus, but that looks pretty good. Bottom of the board cleaned up nicely. And I think the oscillator pins cleaned up nicely, so I will go ahead for now, and we'll just go ahead and put the we'll go ahead and put that oscillator back in the socket. Actually, you know, I forgot to double check that the pads on the board weren't soldered together, but I'm fairly sure that since MacFX installed that oscillator, that would have not been the case. Wait, can I? Oh, there we go. If I get a flashlight, I can, I should be able to see the pins. Let me double check that. Yeah, okay. Double checked. Kevin says, I have an SE with a 25 megahertz Mobius accelerator board in it. It has 16 megabytes of RAM. Pretty snappy for a compact Mac. Oh, nice. Yeah, those accelerator boards that added RAM to the RAM limited Macs were really nice. Unfortunately, I think a lot of them, they used custom ASICs and other things that are just not available these days. All right, so I believe that if I'm looking at the legend on the board correctly, that pin 1 is this pin on this accelerator. I'm tempted to go I don't know if Joe's got a picture of all right, let's see here. Oh, let me yeah, I'm going to play his assembly video or scrub through it. Let me see if he mentions the oscillator. Nope. All right. All right. I'm pretty sure that is correct, though. Salvage Geek says, I did a video making some of these a while back and wish I'd used sockets for the gals, but it ended up working out pretty well with surface mounting them. I haven't tried it on a Plus yet. I've been too lazy to unsolder a 40-pin DIP CPU. Yeah, the reason why I ordered the upgrade from Joe, instead of building my own from the open source, is Joe actually figured out a way to effectively make a killie clip for his upgrade. So it clips onto the Mac Plus. I don't need to unsolder anything on my Mac Plus. That is not to say that I won't ever try the open source version, because I may someday, but for this attempt, I decided I was going to go for the one that would just snap onto the CPU. Like, no mess, no fuss. All right, let me find some pins. You know, I thought I had some pin header strips. I used to keep pin header strips in my tool chest drawer, but I might actually be out of pin header strips in my tool chest drawer. All right, let me see here. All right, I know I've got some somewhere. All right, let me. Oh, that's weird. Okay, let me put you on hold so I can go find some pin header strips. I know I've got some somewhere, and I just need 3 pins. So that should theoretically be easy to find. All right, I found some pin headers. They're not the greatest in the world, but they are pin headers, and they'll take jumper pins. And I have a little strip of 4 down in this bag. There we go. And I'll turn it into a strip of 3. And I will put these spares in my tool chest drawer. So that next time I need pin strips, I can use them. All right. So let's put these pin headers here. I will use the Captain tape to insulate my fingers. All right, I think they're. Oh. Yeah. Okay, that looks good. All right. There we go. Now I have jumper pins, and we've got the oscillator socket. Oh. Oh yeah, I'll show those again in a second. I think these are just some I got from Jamco. Also, I ordered some from Mauser that haven't come in, but these ones from Jamco are well, at least seemingly working with the oscillators that I've sample size of 1 oscillator that I've tried with them. All right, so that should be the flux cleaned up, but there's the oscillator socket. Yeah, I think the trick to finding them is dip 8 or dip 14, but it's like dip 8 or dip 14 oscillator socket. Oh, I think these turned pins might actually be a bit smaller in diameter than a normal turned pin socket. But anyways, there we go. I've got the socket and pin header installed on Joe's upgrade board. Now, I am going to go ahead and let me install a jumper. And actually, I'm looking for... I found some nice jumpers the other day. And I probably promptly hid them from myself. All right, we'll use one of these. I'd found some jumpers that had some nice finger grips on them. I thought I had left them sitting on my bench knowing I'd be doing this, but, well, I guess not. Oh, yep. Jason says he wants to overhaul all his Mac upgrades with these. Alright, well, if these work... If these sockets work well, then... Yeah, there we go. These are the sockets I'm using tonight. They are Jamco Value Pro. SKU 133006, manufacturer 1107741. Aries Electronics oscillator socket. Crystal 14, because they're basically DIP 14 with 4 pins. These are the sockets I was trying to look for during Dave's stream and failed to find, only because they had a Sega Genesis sitting on top of them. I certainly wouldn't have expected to find oscillator sockets under a Sega Genesis. Apparently that's how I keep supplies safe until I actually really truly need them. Yeah, alright. So, for the moment, I've put the jumper into the position for using the external clock. And we will leave this be. Oh, you know, I guess I could, I guess we could go ahead and initiate. All right, random. All right, so here we go, a random FPU from the bag. All right, I don't see any bent pins. Definitely looks like someone's retouched all the pins with solder, and it claims to be 40 megahertz. And it claims to be Motorola. And it claims to be that this is pin 1. So basically, pin 1 is going to be in the middle of one of the sides, and you line it up with the arrow. Or sometimes there's a dot on the PCB as well. There we go. Went ahead and installed the FPU. So there's our eBay CPU and our UT Source FPU. And I definitely can tell you this one's definitely been repainted. This one I'm not so sure about. It actually kind of looks more naturally textured, but I'm kind of thinking it might have been remarked too. Then again, I don't know. Maybe there were just a bunch of Motorola FPUs out there floating around the market from just spare stock. I can't say that that's not possible, because it could be. Oh, hi, Matt. Hi, Matt. Welcome. Matt also got my MiniPerformer Plus from JCM. Exciting times for Mac Plus folks. I'm also keeping my eye on the progress on the recreation of the Total Systems Mercari, like the Performer Plus 4 megabytes fast RAM. Nice. All right, so what we are doing is, so we are going to eventually install that upgrade in the Mac Plus, but to make some things easier for experimenting. Kevin's asking, is Joe selling the CPU FPU for it also? Yes. Joe does have, he was expecting them to come in yesterday as the last time I checked his website, which is why I sourced a CPU separately. Because actually, when I ordered the upgrade, he did not have an ETA, or maybe he did, but wasn't taking orders for them. I think now, let me check. It does say add to cart, ETA July 1. So yes, Joe does have them available. They are separate just because of the realities of buying the processor and FPU. He can make the upgrades much more freely if he's not beholden to include a CPU and processor. And some people have them on hand, so. Oh, Matt says you can get on a wait list. Yes, I tried ordering from the eBay seller people. Recommended, but the package was stolen from my porch. Oh, no. That is an eBay regret, if I've ever heard one. All right, so why am I starting with the Mac SE? Because it's just a little bit easier to do some of the testing with the SE. So the first thing I wanted to test was, like, can we actually use up to a 40 megahertz oscillator with a 16 megahertz 68030? It's basically 16 megahertz. It's actually like 15.8 megahertz is the clock speed these run at. Because this is going to be running at the same speed as the one on the Mac Plus, because I think the SE runs at the same speed. The SE is just a little easier for bench testing, because I can use a standard ADB keyboard. I can use a standard, I just have usually any random macOS install works on it that I have floating around. And I actually have the drivers for this accelerator installed in it. Matt says, if Builder 68 gets the 31 megahertz version of the Mercari clone working and stable, hopefully we can all transplant the 030 and 882 onto that at full speed. Nice. All right, but yeah, so we're going to use this for testing. What I didn't remember until I got downstairs tonight is MacFX actually installed a 32 megahertz oscillator on my upgrade. So this is actually running at 32 megahertz. But I want to make sure it's still working. Hi, Jack. Welcome. And I actually also want to get a measurement of it running at 25 megahertz so we can sanity check things on the Mac Plus. I do have 25 megahertz oscillators. I have plenty of them. And that's, so, I know this isn't a Mac Plus for those of you that might have just joined, but we're using the SE to make testing a little bit easier when we get to the Mac Plus. Also, the parts that I need are in Roanoke right now. So, yeah, UPS didn't deliver my package today. In fact, actually, they declared the delivery exception yesterday while the package was still in Nashville. So, yeah, I won't have the Mac Plus stuff until Monday, or the extra oscillators till Monday. So I thought we would start with installing sockets and getting some baseline testing on the SE, at least what I can. We'll start with this as our test bed, and then we will go to the Mac Plus. Once we kind of know what combos work on the SE, then I'm thinking they'll probably also work on the Plus. Because I think it's more the can the CPU handle the speed of the FPU than anything else? For the question that I'm trying to answer. So what we will do tonight is also, because it's kind of, also probably due to how warm it is in the basement, I'm probably going to stop streaming at 11:30. I probably won't go all the way till 12, just because it's just a bit on the warm side right where I'm sitting. It's, yeah, with the computer on and streaming and whatnot, I guess the computer running for streaming, it's gotten up to 83 degrees around my workbench. So, yeah, I did have some water. I've drunk all my water. So I am going to, we'll declare it, say, due to the temperatures, I'm going to be kind to myself and try to wrap streaming up 30 minutes early. I didn't get my window or my portable air conditioner set up, partly because when I opened the adapter I bought from Amazon to put in the window, it's like I look at it and I'm like, I'm not quite sure this matches the description of what I thought I was buying. And I think I finally did talk myself into trying to install it anyways, but I'll need to do that like in the morning when it's still cool in the basement. So since I do have tomorrow off, I may try installing it in the morning. That way, if I need to return it to Amazon, I can maybe return it to Amazon tomorrow. All right. So let's see here. I think we are on VGA 1. All right. I think when I turn my power supply on, it should turn my SE on. So we got the Blue SCSI in. I got a keyboard attached. I've got a mouse attached. The Pico Mac vid thing is attached. All right, I think we should be good for testing. Oh, it does help to turn smart outlets on as well. There we go. Let's see here. Jesse says, I'm afraid to see what the temperature is at my new streaming station. Socket Wrench looks up the temps in Jersey. Oof. Well, I'm in Virginia. It got up to like 102 degrees Fahrenheit here. Oh, I think I'm on the wrong VGA. Did I... Oh, and I forgot to turn you all on capture input. There we go. Ew, that looks horrible. Oh, okay. First of all, I think that's closer to the truth. Yeah. All right. And also OBS is there we go. Okay, I know it looks like it's frozen, but for some reason it likes to hang for a moment while it activates the accelerator, and then there we go. Or I guess AppleScript likes to hang, and then we load the accelerator, and then we are like zooming fast. Yeah. So we should be. Yep, SE, 4 megabytes of RAM. Yeah, the wheels on that Mac are very cute, yes. So I think if we run everybody's favorite diagnostic software, but only because I wanted... Oh, wrong one. There we go. Macintosh SE, 68030 accelerated. I've got a 68882, 4 megabyte CPU speed, 44 megahertz accelerated. I believe that is incorrect. I don't think it's actually 44 megahertz. I think it's running at 15, but Matt says it's legible. Yeah, it's more legible now that I got OBS settled. Let me see here. I think I've got benchmark speedometer. There we go. I don't think this is necessarily the best OS install I've ever done, but I think it's one I did for another Mac, and it would, but it's at least will run on an SE, because like half the RAM is used by the system. But it'll let us run our benchmarks here. All right. All right. Flashing warning. We're going to run all the benchmarks. Which drive to test? We'll test the main drive. There we go. Not that it really matters. All right. Unfortunately, the accelerator doesn't really do much for graphics performance, because I think the graphics performance on this Mac is largely bound by the bus speed. I mean, it is nice though. CPU, we got 3.288 times a Mac Classic. And math, here we go. It is 7.865 times faster than a Mac Classic. Nice. Here we go, our benchmark mix. So I believe Whetstones is floating point and dry stones as integer. And then I believe the towers, quick sort, bubble sort, I know those three I believe are focused on CPU. Fast Fourier and FP matrix I think may be floating point. Integer matrix, obviously integer path, so it's going to be CPU. I'd have to look them up to be sure. I don't know what queens and puzzle are. Sieve, I think, is... I'm not sure what sieve is, but I think that's integer. Again, on this, Mac Classic is equal to a score of 1. So Whetstones, the Whetstones benchmark is almost 17 times faster than on a Mac Classic, so I'm pretty sure that is floating point. Yeah, Fast Fourier, I'm pretty sure that's floating point, being it's almost 8 times faster than a Mac Classic. Mac Classic having no FPU capability. Yep, floating point matrix, 7.6, that's good. There we go. And then these, on the FPU benchmark screen, they're based off a Mac 2, which is 1.0. Mac 2 is going to be a 68020 running at 16 megahertz, and its FPU would be running at 16 megahertz. Oh. So, what do we got here? So our SE is running at about 0.84 times that of a Mac 2. That actually doesn't surprise me. That our floating point performance isn't quite as good as a Mac 2. But at least on the matrix multiplication and the fast Fourier, 1.1 and basically a little over 1.0 of Mac 2. So, on average, this accelerator card with the 32 megahertz oscillator for the FPU is running about the same floating point performance as a Mac 2. So, nice. We're running an average of 5 times the speed of a Mac Classic. That's very nice. And yeah, there we go. There's our performance test. So, alright, Alright, I'm going to... let me save our machine record. Any special information about your system... It's a Mac SE. Oh, you know, it would help if I type on the correct keyboard. I think that'll do there. Because it's the name I'm going to give the record that will be more important. How about I'm just going to put it on the root there. Mac SE 030 32 megahertz 882. Oh, interesting. Alright, well, I tried to save it. All right, so let's go ahead and shut down. And I do want to try something here. So we put the oscillator in a socket. That's the 32 megahertz oscillator that MacFX included. I do want to know, so that when we continue to look at these upgrades, hopefully on Monday, when I'll have the full slate of oscillators for testing, I do want to know that if we change the oscillator, that we are actually going to see a change in performance. In other words, I want to make sure that it looks like we are actually using the oscillator. Because if we don't see a change in performance, one possibility is that it's not actually using the oscillator. So, all right, I've powered down. I'm going to remove the 32 megahertz oscillator. I am going to install this 25 megahertz oscillator. And oh, hey Dave, welcome. Well, Dave, you missed Wheel of Regrets. And then you missed me saying that I was going to have to work on something else because my Mauser parts didn't show up. And then in trying to find some sockets I ordered for an LC2 logic board, I found the oscillator sockets I was trying to find on your stream. So I've actually installed sockets on the accelerators, and we're doing some initial benchmarking. Or as Jesse says, you missed all of it, lol. Thank you, Jesse. I needed someone to step in and say that for me, because I'm too nice to have said it to Dave. Anyway, so for ease of testing, right now I'm using a Mac SE because I've got an accelerator card for it, and we're doing some initial benchmarking. Jack says, that's so helpful, Jesse. Dave says, sounds like I did. We're using the SE because it, I've got a Blue SCSI image set up for it. We are, I just ran it with a 32 megahertz oscillator that MacFX had shipped on the board. I carefully removed it when I installed the socket on this accelerator. And now I've put a 25 megahertz oscillator in because I want to make sure that we actually see a change in performance, which would mean we're actually using the oscillator. Because I was actually, in doing some web searching, some people on the 68K forums were seemingly saying that they were trying oscillators and nothing was changing. So, that doesn't seem right, but I just want to make sure we actually see a difference. Jesse says, Jack says, oscillator. Oscillating. Jesse says, and Neurospicy, that's also a system network admin, comes off blunt. Impossible. Jack says, and we love you for it. Yes, we do. And while, because my schedule of the week has changed again, causing me to think that I might be able to start streaming at 8 on Thursdays. Of course, Jesse, when you're back to your streaming schedule, I will yield and go back to 9. But I was tempted if there was no one waiting in the wings, and my schedule really has changed for the moment. I would try to give folks an extra hour of entertainment until you're back in the stream of things. All right, so we will run all the tests again. Flashing warning. Jesse says it's all good. All right. So hopefully we will see a slight dip in FPU performance, and then that means that when I have all the oscillators in hand, that we will hopefully be able to see a difference. Jesse says, I would like to go back to Fridays, which might be possible. Excellent. Cross that bridge when you get there. All right. All right, so far I think CPU and graphics are the same. Disk thinks about the same. Math is, that was about what, 3.9-ish? Well, we'll go back to the machine record to confirm if it actually saved it. Oh, interesting. Socket Wrench says, I seem to be stuck at Sunday afternoon or whenever I can join Trina. Oh, yeah, okay. I think there is a slight... I think I am seeing a slight dip in performance, although it's not much, actually. But that kind of makes sense, because we're running asymmetrically from the CPU. So while the FPU might be able to calculate things faster, it's going to have to wait for the CPU to get the results. And that won't go faster because the CPU is running slower. So actually, it might make sense that the difference might not be as dramatic, because the effect of increasing the oscillator speed may not be linear, because they're running asymmetrically. It also might be interesting if we could find a pattern to maybe estimate what the performance should be. But yeah, we'll see what it compares to. Because I'm curious, I did order a 1 or 2 40 megahertz oscillators. I'm curious if 40 megahertz will work. Which, I mean, theoretically it should if these FPUs actually are 40 megahertz rated. Although this one, the MacFX put in the board's only rated at 25. But it overclocked to 32. Now I think I'm running it at its clock speed. Oh yeah, actually, there we go. There was a slight decrease. So this was like 1.01. Now it's 0.994. And actually, I think it all is going to depend on what Um, all right, so this machine compared to, there we go. So this machine, we've got the 25 megahertz 882. So interestingly enough, the math benchmark ran faster by a little bit. We did see a slight drop in K whetstones. Quick sort. Well, quick and bubble sort I don't think use FPU, so I think those differences are probably just the variations between runs. Yeah, Queen's puzzle, permute, those look like integer results. Fast Fourier is a little slower. That one's probably floating point. FP matrix, that almost looks like a wash. Integer matrix, sieve, bench. Interesting. So FPU, FFT, K-wet, matrix. You know, interestingly enough, I don't really see much difference between the two. Yeah, Jack says, as I understand it, even though the 882 is a separate chip, the 030 still is in control of delegating execution of FPU instructions to the coprocessor. Yes, because when there is an F-line instruction, which are the coprocessor instructions, it yeah, the CPU is going to have to decode the instruction, or there are things that the processor has to do for the FPU. So it is possible that the asymmetric operation is okay. So FPU for sane is on. All right. So we should have been using the FPU in Snooper, or in speedometer. Yeah, you can turn off the startup animation, but I don't know why you would want to do that. I guess one thing I could do is we could restart. Now, the one thing I've noticed about this accelerator, and I'd be interested to know if in the Mac Plus, because this accelerator is very similar to the Mac Plus one, it reboots much faster than it boots. I think on the reboot, the 030 is active. Because if you'll note, AppleScript loaded way faster on the reboot. Yeah, Jack says, but I suppose it takes a few seconds. Yeah, I can see why you would want to turn it off. It takes a few seconds. I mean, it's cool and all, but at some point, I'm sure it gets old waiting for it. All right, I am curious. And you might see where I'm going here. Kevin's asking, I wonder if AUX would work on the SE with the accelerator board. That I don't know, but the 030 is not active until the control panel loads. So if AUX requires a 030 to run, I don't know if it would work on the accelerator board. All right, I just want to try something here, and then I'm going to wrap the stream up. I rebooted because I am curious, because it reboots faster than it boots the first time. But I don't think that should affect the benchmark, because I think once that control panel once the control panel loads, the accelerator is on. Just in case, though, there was something funny because I don't have a battery installed. Yeah, Jack says, I'm guessing AUX can't even begin to boot unless it's running on a machine with an MMU. That would be my guess. Jack says, but I can't remember, does the AUX boot process involve booting into system software first and then handing off to AUX? Yeah, that I don't remember. Because if that was the case, then theoretically you could, as long as the AUX loader was also a control panel, then theoretically you could rename them so the accelerator one loaded first, and that would enable the 030. Jack says, I've spent very little time playing with AUX. I really should learn more about it. Yeah, I've got 0 AUX experience, so although I was thinking it did require a MMU, which means 020 with an MMU or later. Because yes, the Mac 2 does have an MMU socket. I have no idea how many Apple sold. Theoretically, they did sell the MMU upgrade. But AUX might require an 030 because I think the 030's MMU is better than the external one for the 020. So it wouldn't surprise me if AUX still requires an 030. Yeah, Jack says, I would guess it makes use of the 030's MMU and vector base register. Okay, so I reran on a reboot, and actually it looks like... Oh, interesting. It looks like... Oh, I should have seen this coming. So this machine, compared to the same benchmarks that we ran just a few minutes ago, and oh, there are some slight variations. And and I bet that's the nature of the FPU running asymmetrically. Jack says, oh, actually the 68020 has a VBR. Okay. Yes, so I think just the nature of the FPU running asymmetrically means that you're going to see some variation between benchmark runs. So I have a feeling to get a full picture of, are we actually running faster? We'd probably have to run the benchmarks a couple times to get an average, because there's variation between runs, because the FPU has to wait for the CPU. Yeah, the FPU still has to wait for the CPU. Yeah, I think if they were running at the same clock speed, I have a feeling there would be less of variations between runs. That we might be able to experiment with the Mac Plus upgrade, because I can move a jumper to enable and disable it, or switch which clock it's using. But anyways, with that, I think that's where I'm going to draw the stream to an end. Jack says, I think you can swap in a 68851, but I've never seen one much like the elusive parity chip for the 2CI. Yeah, I've seen pictures of the 68851. It's definitely a weird looking beast. Just from...
Ladies.
Stop that. Got to turn off the animation. Kevin says, everyone have a safe Independence Day. Great stream. Thanks. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, I think the 68851, it is a square chip, but it, at least from the picture I remember, it does not contain all, 68 pins. It's, got a lot of checks. It's got missing pins. But anyways, so that's where we're going to end the stream for tonight. So we got our heat sinks for the two computers I'm building, and at least for the Intel system, we confirmed the heatsink will fit the motherboard. Now, case is another question, but it'll fit the motherboard. And I found my oscillator sockets. We have put oscillator sockets on the two upgrade cards. So both the Mac Performer Plus, we got an oscillator socket on it, and the jumper installed, as well as on my Performer from Mac Effects for the SE that I have. And we at least ran some initial benchmarks on the Performer to make sure that you could, that we would see differences between math coprocessor speeds, and you do see some differences, but wasn't a lot. And I think that's going to be the nature of asymmetric operation. So it's quite possible that while you might be able to use a 40 megahertz oscillator, you may not get much benefit from it, which might be why all the vintage accelerators, they usually shipped with a 25 megahertz one. But anyways, with that, Jack says, indeed, everyone be safe and enjoy the weekend. So with that, I'm going to draw the stream to a close. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Stay hydrated out there, because it's going to be a scorcher, at least here on the East Coast. Have a safe 4th of July, and I hope to see you all on Monday. So, yep, next week, Monday, hopefully I'll have my Mauser order, and we will continue with the accelerator accelerating, and we'll go from there. So have a great rest of your day. Take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.